about an hour. You can see on this fish 2 eyes on top of the head. Right here and right here. You see that? So not one eye on either, but both eyes on one. You can also see that when I hold my hand on what fin? Caudal, and run my hand up, very few scales on my hand. This one, this fin right here is the what fin?
Dorsal.
Dorsal. What is this fin? Pectoral. Exactly. So you can also see this lateral line, and I kind of hinted on that. That's that sensing line. And I can't believe I'm about to tell you this, but when I was a kid, I was terrible. That was horrible. My teachers did not think I would amount to anything, and still, maybe I haven't, but they thought I'd be in jail because I was so mischievous. We had a cat when I was a kid that was horrible. Not only antisocial, like most cats are, but would charge at you and bite you. Like hiss and scratch and bite. Terrible. The only person this cat liked was my mother. And if you turned the corner too quickly, that cat would just run at you. So I lived in fear in my elementary years of this cat, right? So this line right here, as sensitive to vibrations as it is similar to a cat's, oh, sorry, go ahead. It's similar to a cat's whiskers. And I thought it would be funny to cut the cat's whiskers on, because cats have trouble sensing or seeing things that are not moving. That's why when you dangle a toy in front of a cat, they go crazy, because they can see it because it's moving. And their whiskers are very sensitive to vibrations. I got in so much trouble. I was around for last week. But it was actually sort of validating to see the cat bump into the doorway, because they couldn't sense the edge of their bubble, so to speak. So this is much the same thing. I have 2 cats now, and I would never cut the whiskers off. I've grown, I've matured. Thank goodness.
I don't know how you got the cat to be still to do that.
I was 7. I could sit on anything. So this is the gill cover, and I'm going to kind of, like, it's just this little bone that you lift up. You can see the mouth, right, and both eyes. And I'm going to lift up this gill cover and kind of cut it open so you can see that it is still pink, which is a good thing. And it's somewhat separated. It's, you know, it's starting to degrade a little bit. But on this fish, this is where the backbone is. On a round fish, it's up here. But on this flat fish, it's right here, and we're going to get 1 fillet, 2 fillets. We're going to flip it over and get 3 fillets, 4. So that's real important to know. So I like to use the lateral line as a guideline. So I take the knife and I run right along that lateral line, and that is the spinal column. And that's where I start, is right along there. And I'm cutting right along the backbone. And I'm using my left hand to kind of feel in here that I feel it's like a little notch, the backbone. So that's where I am. And I can feel that I'm right on top of that. And then on the bottom of the fish is the organ, or the viscera, as it's called in fish. So I want to leave this as intact as possible, because if I pierce it, it's going to bleed purple or orange all over my cutting board, and I'm going to ruin the beautiful white color of my meat. So I'm going to start with the top of the fish, and I'm going to cut just a little bit diagonal like this, because unlike this fillet, I'm going to get more from the top than I am from this. This fillet is going to be right here. This fillet is going to be like that, with this being the internal organs. Okay? So So I cut down kind of like this, and then I always like to work towards my body. So I start right here, and I'm using my left hand to pull back, and I'm using my right hand to cut. And you're going to hear this clicking sound, and that's my knife on the rib bones that are underneath here, and that's a good thing, because that tells me that I'm cutting down rather than up into the meat. You hear that cutting sound?
Yes, Chef.
That's a good thing. And then once you get down to the striped part, that's the belly, and that's pretty useless. So I'm going to cut my losses right here. I cut a little bone right here, so I'm going to just peel that off. And cut right down like that. I'm going to clean this up in just a second. So you see they're very small fillets. I left it a little bit here, but relatively speaking, that's not even a bite part of it. These are very small fillets. On the other side, I'm going to follow this cut, but I'm going to go more down like this. See the internal organs right here? I don't want to pierce that orange part.
Okay.
So I'm going to cut down like that, and it actually grinds a little bit more like this.
Can you feel that, Chef? When you with your fingers before you put your knife?
And then, just like the other side, I'm going to go over the hump, which is the spinal column, clicking right along those bones, pulling that back with my left hand. Notice with my left hand, I'm not mashing, I'm just delicately pulling because it'll bruise very easily. So again, very thin. On the back side, you can see the lateral line also, and the back side is going to give you smaller fillets from both the top and the bottom. The head, so I can cut a little more towards the front, and I stick my finger in here and make sure that I'm right on that backbone, and then I just start clicking. And pulling. Good. Sure. So this second side again is going to give you a much thinner fillet than that first one did, because it's the bottom of the fish.
So if you leave the skin on the fillet,
I'm going to show you how to skin it. If flatfish is really fresh, like i.e. just caught from the ocean, you can skin the whole fish before you cut it. You can cut a little slit right here and this whole thing just peels off. But I find that in our case it's a little bit easier to do it separately. So what I do to fillet, or to skin, this is really important. This is where the morning class was a little sketchy. Notice how my cutting board is towards the front. It's on the edge of my table. Because I'm going to use my butcher or my chef knife for this, and I want to get as close to the board as I can. And if I'm up here, my hand is in the way. So I get off the table like this, so that my knife is as flat as it can possibly be. Before I do that though, I'm going to clean this part off. Notice when I'm cutting this, I'm not doing this. I'm using the palm of my hand so that I don't bruise the flesh. And I want to make it nice and clean. And then when you're filleting it, I usually start at the tail end. And I lay it out, cut a little bit of a slit right here. But that's not enough meat for me to be concerned about. And then I take my left hand and I wiggle this hand and keep my knife stationary. So watch. Look at my left hand. My right hand is not moving. See this? I'm wiggling the skin.
Nice.
And then that gives you a nice clean skin. Right? And that's what you want to do. So again, the next one I'm going to show you again. Now, each group, as I said, has 2 fish. So you're going to get 8 fillets for your group. And toss it around. Make sure that everybody does one. And the reason we have 8, even though we're serving 2 or 3, is because you're going to chew it up. So we'll have 2 or 3 that are good. But the practice is the important part. So again, even with the back side or the belly side, lay it down tail side up to the edge of the board, knife off the board, cut a little slit, grab on with your left hand, and wiggle the left hand, not the right. Okay, I'm not moving my right hand. And again, these are very small little fish fillets. They're very delicate. This is Dover sole, so this comes from a specific region in the world. Where would that be? Dover Strait, which is in between England and France. That Dover Strait.
Right.
And in order for it to be called Dover sole, it must come from that region. Just like champagne can only come from the Champagne region of France. Otherwise, it's sparkling wine, Prosecco if it's from Italy, Asti Spumante, Schlitz malt liquor, 40-ounce brown paper bag, whatever, right?
Right.
So get on the edge, cut your slant, grab on with the left hand, leave your right hand alone.
That was
See? I know it looks really easy to grab 4 of them. Wrap them up double. Put them on top of plastic wrap and ice. And then when we get to the end of class, wrap your 2 separately. Label them and put them in here. So group 3 is going to have 1 plastic wrap, 4 fillets, and another one. Because if you laid them out like this and froze 8 of them, they take much longer to thaw. Exactly. And then you're going to try and break them apart. So I want to freeze them. If because we have to freeze them, I want to freeze them correctly in a line of 4 and then separate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, chef.
Okay. Keep these on ice at your station. Because if you drop them off up here, they're going to sit at room temperature. So just keep them on ice, and when I shut you down, then wrap them up and label them in here. Your pasta goes in here, wrapped up, labeled. We're going to put these together in the freezer. Your tomato confit is going to go in one of these, or a taller, labeled.